Good afternoon, US. Good evening, UK. I hope everyone is well. And tonight I've got Penny Griffiths Morgan joining me. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. You sounded like an air hostess then, doing the announcement, the safety briefing.
I think
Exits to the side, over the wings. Yeah.
People used to take the pee out of me at work because they said that I was singing on the phone. I don't know. It's just the way I talk. Hey ho, it happens.
Anyway, on that note,
yeah, but it's not even gone live yet, so I don't know where it's gone. It's kind of got lost somewhere.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was just looking for it. It's not appeared on the page yet.
So,
God knows where it is in the ether.
It's going somewhere, and we've got somebody viewing it as well. So hello and welcome. So we'll carry on. I don't quite know where we're going.
But I almost broke into song then, I don't know where we're going. That sort of thing. Where are we? I don't know.
I don't really know where it's gone live, to be fair. But yeah, it's gone funny.
It's definitely not appearing.
No, it seems to be a glitch with Facebook, I think.
Oh well, we'll keep talking.
Yeah, that's right.
Must be. We'll keep talking.
Glitched. Oh, it's finally through. So, hello everyone. Yeah. We're finally getting there. So it seems to be a glitch with Facebook. So yeah, you'll all be joining at some stage.
Hopefully.
So just had a quick chat, and you've just been so busy, haven't you?
Yeah, I do like to keep myself busy. I'm just looking it up on the page now myself. There we go. Yeah, I do like to keep myself busy. It stops me getting bored, basically, and when I get bored, I'm trouble. So.
Oh, are you? I'm trouble. I'm trouble just doing what I do. I can't do anything without getting into trouble. I've just got a natural ability to get myself into trouble without trying. But that's life, isn't it?
I don't try to get into trouble, but I get a bit. But the thing is, I'm one of those people. I do side quests all the time. Like someone will ask me to research something, and I'll be researching it, and then I'll find something in the research that interests me a little bit more than what I'm researching, and off I go.
Off you go on a trip, and then you have to go back to the original one. And yeah. I found that with my book though, because I just started it, and this was the first one. So I went a lot into the history of locations.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was
you're going for my job now?
No. It's just that I didn't know how to write a book. And I thought, well, how am I going to fill a book? So I started getting all the history. And then you just go off on it. And it's like, oh, wow, And then you're just trying to prove something. And, and there's some relationship, I think, with my church and Newstead Abbey. And Annesley Hall, a place which fascinated me. And, when you notice that, you think, well, why? Can I prove that?
That is a good trait to have. It's what drives people nuts about me. I always want to know the why. Why did that happen? Who did it?
Yeah.
Why? And then I get going down these blasted rabbit warrens of research trying to find out the answers. And then I'm calling other historians who I know go, do you know where I could find the answer to this? And they're like, oh, not again. Yeah, it's
yeah, because I did it with Barry John, because he does a lot at Newstead. He sort of does things there. And I was like, well, it's all about Butler Byron and people associated with that have said, well, have you got anything there which has got the link to my church, and the family? Because it sounds like they were sort of in this area and they've been interned in the church, and yet they've gone over there, the family have, and, where's the link? Because I've always been fascinated with Annesley Hall, which is a child with Buster's family, and it's just like, isn't it? But history, that's what you do all the time, isn't it? And
yeah, and why my husband ignores me now when I'm sat on my laptop in my little alcove off our living room, and I've got headphones on because I'll be listening to something, and you'll suddenly hear me go, yes, you two pieces, you've got the link between two things, yes, and it'll be something quite minor. But I'll get these little, or I'll find a newspaper article from 1842 that gives me the answer to something I've been searching for, and I do little happy dances. I think my family are just so used to it now. They're like, classic. Oh, mum's found something, And then the other one is they see me sitting there doing this, and they're like, "You're struggling. I can't find what I need." Yeah, they get used to it.
Bless you. Yeah, but it is frustrating, and I'm not very good at researching. I guess you learn, you develop to do it,
You
don't
do.
you?
You do.
You know, like at the moment, you think, well, all I do is Google, but let's get down to the library. That's what they're there for, isn't it?
Libraries, I love archives, like county archives.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went for the last book I wrote, the Epping book. I actually went to the National Archives at Kew for the
Oh
first time
wow.
ever. Oh my days, it was like the mothership had called me home. I did not want to leave. I think I was there for 7 hours looking at old documents, and my eyes were kind of, whoa.
Oh
And
my
I was like, I
gosh.
really didn't want to leave because it was just a treasure trove. And yeah, it's archives. Archives are a brilliant source, but it is a case of plowing through stuff until
Oh
you find
gosh,
that one
yeah.
bit that links to the next bit, and then you
That's
find
right.
links to things. And I like that side of things. But
Yeah.
it's something that, I mean, Kate Sherrill and I discuss this quite a lot, and it is something, it takes practice to get good at it, to
Definitely.
know where to look for things, and to know possibly what sources to use for different time periods. And
Of course.
it's not instant, but it's one of those things that I would say to anyone watching, listening, if you're researching something and you've hit a brick wall, ask someone else if they've got any ideas, because that's how I learned. I
Oh
asked other
wow.
people. So I was when I was researching something to do with Henry V for the last year's Festival of the Unexplained, because I did a tour
Right.
around Kenilworth Castle, and I wanted to find out
Oh,
if it
I
was
love that
true.
place.
It's
Yeah.
brilliant. It's one of my favourite places.
Yeah.
I wanted to find out if it was true that he'd been sent by, I think it was the Dauphin of France, some balls and a cushion, implying he was too young to be running a country.
Oh,
And I
okay.
wanted to find out if this was true. And I couldn't get anywhere with it. I just kept reading, oh, it said that. So I was actually going to a meet and greet with the historian Dan Jones,
Oh wow.
and I thought I'd ask him, did he know? And he told me exactly where to find the sort of where that comes from. So,
So
and I find that a lot of historians or even sort of paranormal people are used to researching and really digging into research rather than just reading hearsay.
yeah.
Most, and I'd include myself in this, I'm always more than happy to tell someone where to look, because it's shared knowledge, and
Yeah.
that's how you learn. So I would
Definitely.
say to anyone listening who kind of gets stuck on the research, ask someone who maybe is slightly further ahead in doing research. Don't ask them to do the research for you,
Oh
but ask
gosh,
them where
no.
they would look. Well,
Yeah.
no, the thing is, I would, because I love it. And
Yeah,
that's why
but
my side quests, but I try to, rather than do it for people, I try and teach them how to do it
that's
so that they
right.
get that
Yeah.
sense of achievement,
That's
like I
right.
did when it was taught to me.
Yeah. But sort of, do you get ideas of how it should be? Do you get theories and then you try and back that up with the history in any case?
I don't know if I go in with any preconceptions to things. I mean,
Right.
sometimes I know we were saying that you want to know the reasons why.
Yeah.
Well, I like to know, where's this come from. I mean, for example, let's take I think it's Sir Thomas More, very famous, having written a book that slated Richard III and said Richard III killed his nephews.
Right.
I wanted to know, where did that come from? Because
Mhm.
Thomas More was a child when all of that happened. So how would he have known?
Yeah.
Now, this is the big question. Where did it come from? But that's the kind of thing that I'm more interested in, that if I can't work out. So if, for example, Sir Thomas More had been Richard III's priest, for want of a
Right.
better question, yes, I could almost understand it. He witnessed it. But he wasn't. And so there's little things like that's when I get I want to find the truth, if that makes sense. It's like,
Yeah, I
I
get
mean,
you.
when people talk about Victorian workhouses, which is one of my
Oh,
specialisms,
that
and,
fascinates me. Yeah.
and it's when they say how awful they were and how they were. I think I got called once a white supremacist Nazi for trying to explain the history behind them,
Oh my
and that,
gosh.
oh yeah, I've been, and that they were nothing but concentration camps for the poor. And I was arguing, no, they were the origins of the welfare state. That's what they were. and try. And so I decided to go off and find proof to show that. What was the other thing I heard? Nobody left them unless it was in a box. And so I decided to go off and find proof that that wasn't the case, which I found.
That's
so
brilliant. Yeah.
that's the sort of thing that, you know, if I'm like, well, actually, no, that wasn't the case. I'm pretty sure that's not the case, but I want to find proof that I'm. And if I'm wrong, I admit it. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It was the case, but it wasn't the case. People didn't leave, and they could leave at any time they wanted, as long as if they came in with the wife and children, they had to leave with the wife and children. They couldn't just dump them in there, although some did, but that's by the by. But things like that, I want to know the whys. I want to know. I don't tend to. I do come up with historical theories, but it's normally a case of how things are linked and finding that link, like you're saying about the hall and the church and Newstead. It's finding what that link is, because I'm pretty damn sure there is a link, but I need to find what that link is and prove it.
The name, it has to be, the name, and when you read about who's been interned here, and there are links to Newstead and everything. And
well, one of them was when I wrote the Bosworth Hall book.
I've still got to get that book. I need to get that from you, Parameet.
I'll make sure I bring some to the Parameet.
I need it,
there was one of the baronets who there's nothing written about him. Nothing. He's literally just a name. Now, he was a POW in the Napoleonic Wars, so he was actually the baronet of Baronet Dixie. And he was only, when he was released, he only survived 6 weeks, and then he died. And it's like, well, why is there not more written about him? If he was a POW, surely he was a war hero. Why is there not? And I decided that I was going to find out some information about him. And even the Historical Society in Bosworth was like, you won't find anything. Nobody's ever found anything. And I'm just like, what's this place?
Now, yeah.
And I found stuff. And now it's a theory as to why nobody wanted to talk about him, which I won't spoil for people who haven't read the book. It's a theory, but having spoken to Napoleonic historians, they actually think it's quite a good theory. So, and I did actually pass the information on to the Historical Society, and they were like, we've never found any of this before. Well, and they agreed with me. You can't dispute what I found. So that's more the kind of thing I want to solve. Like, why is he not talked about? Why does everyone shun him away? So it's things like that I really enjoy. And it did mean I had to know some, even though the 1700s isn't my forte, I knew that, for example, because they were so desperate for sailors during the Napoleonic Wars, if you were in prison for a minor crime, sort of like gambling debts, stealing, whatever, you could say, all right, I'll go and serve on one of those ships if you clear my record.
Oh, wow. Get you.
And I can't remember what it was called. There was an act back in like 1750 something, I think.
Yeah.
And I remembered that. And then when looking into what had happened to him, that made sense. That's what happened to him. And it was all sort of things like that. And it all just, it fell into place. But like I say, it's the whole thing about doing history is you're not on your own. There are so many people out there who are more than willing to sort of say, actually, yes, you're on the right track there. Or have you tried this? And it's just about having the confidence to actually, that's the thing with me that took me ages to have the confidence to ask like other professionals or other experts, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Am I going completely start raving bonkers thinking this? And having the confidence to know that I could talk to them on their level and not look stupid.
Oh yeah. It's the guy I've interviewed on here, and I was so scared. Well, because he was so academic, and you might even guess who he is, but you just don't want to ask a really silly question. And it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, but I feel like that when I talk to Kate Sherrill. She's so clever. I mean, she's like a PhD. I think she's studying a second master's or something.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like, I feel so stupid when I talk to you. And she went, yeah, but I ask you questions. Well, actually you do. So, even I think since I started doing this 7-8 years ago, I have met so many different people now. So I know quite a lot of very highbrow academics, but I also know people like myself who are self-taught and everything in between. And I think it's only certain academics now that I get a bit sort of starstruck by, and that's more because I kind of like when I met Dan Jones, I was a bit like, ah! But he was lovely. And Susanna Lipscomb is another one of my heroes. And I got to chat to her on Twitter about something. Again, absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
So I think most of them, it's the same with a lot of the luminaries in the paranormal field. I find most of them are so giving with their experiences and their knowledge and everything else, because it's a team effort.
Definitely, yeah. It's just nice to run theories by people as well, isn't it? You know, and just see how they work, what they think, and then yeah. Because sometimes you might have a theory and they'll go, yeah, and we agree, and like, yeah, it's just fascinating, isn't it?
It is, and it's having the confidence to do that and to actually, you know, I think when I've done my day job, and I used to be a trainer, sort of training people on pensions and investments, and people say, oh, I've got a really stupid question, and I was like, I know it's a cliche, but there's no such thing as a stupid question.
That's right.
Now, the only thing I'll get annoyed about is I've just told you about it, and you ask me because you weren't listening. But if you didn't really understand, that's fine. No, I think having the confidence to run things past people is a good thing. It's something that I think we should all do more in this field.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I'm you know, I've spoken to some incredible people, including yourself, and you know, everyone's human, and it's just great, you know, just to be able to talk to people, hear the stories, and that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's really, it is. It's. I think there's a lot less bitchiness in this world than there was a while ago. I think it seems to be getting a bit nicer again.
We just had a conversation with someone, but yeah.
Compared to 3 or 4 years ago, I think it doesn't seem as. I think a lot of the troublemakers have vanished for a while.
I don't know.
Or either that, or I've blocked them on Facebook and I don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But yeah.
Or maybe it's just I've blocked them on Facebook, so I don't see their rubbish.
Yeah, I'm sort of if that person's. Well, I don't know, but yeah.
I just try and be nice to everyone. I just try and be nice to everyone.
Yeah, I really try, and it just kind of goes wrong, doesn't it? Really.
So I'm just reading a comment from Carl.
I'll put that one up then. So he's got a pub called Black Caustic. Turpin is said to have stayed there. We have a bridge called Turpin's Bridge. The pub we have was built on another, and the bridge is from the 20s. We have records of a highwayman, but the big question is, why would Turpin go 72 miles out of his way?
Whereabouts are we talking about here?
Talking Bolton way. So we're talking
Bolton.
Yeah.
I've not heard of any links to the northwest.
So it's talking like Smithers which we know is haunted.
Yeah.
Highwayman called himself Turpin. So
I would say
rather than him going there, then someone just called himself that. Yeah.
Could have been. I mean, no, I've not. I know. Obviously, Turpin was arrested in York because he was executed at basically a York racetrack. Hi, Ryan. It's my brother from another mother, that one.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, Mr. Griffiths. Yeah, Turpin was more northeast, obviously, that side of things.
That's it.
I mean, I'm in Essex, and obviously he was quite prolific in Essex and North London. But no, I don't believe. The thing is, though, I think it's a bit like when everyone seems to have seen a version of the ghost of Anne Boleyn. There's certain people whose names everyone assumes that's who it is because that's a famous name, rather than looking into the. And the thing is, if it was Turpin, it was the 1700s. It would be very hard to confirm unless they had the dates of when they think he stayed there, and then you can look at. Well, actually, no. On that day, he was being arrested for this in I don't know Epping. So it's all about sort of not accepting things at face value and looking into what is the documented evidence.
That's true.
knowing full well that if on the 5th of April he was being arrested in Epping and he's meant to have been in Bolton on the 6th of April, it's not actually
It's not going to
possible.
happen, is it? Oh, Helena, she loves Hiya. She loves Dick Turpin, drawn to him, and has seen him twice, but never seen his face. Keeps a mask on. One of his gangs related to Alex. Wow. Cool.
Dick Turpin he was not a nice man. He wasn't the worst in that gang. I can tell you that from the research I've done. What he one of the gang, and I can't remember his name now. Who's the leader? My mind's just gone blank. So obviously, I didn't know what we were going to be talking about.
Next book, then. Yay!
I've got 3 ready to start writing. I'm about 2 years ahead of myself with books.
It's only taken me 3 years.
No, I normally write one a year. So, but of course, I've got about the next 3 years of ideas lined up.
Because I'm doing an investigation on the anniversary of the death of Dick Turpin. I'm doing it at the Castle Museum in York. So I'm really looking forward to that, which is
love that place.
And I'm staying in one of the haunted pubs in York as well. It's like, oh my gosh. So
no, I love that place. I love York anyway, but the Castle Museum, I always go there whenever I go up to North Yorkshire. But what was I going to say? Yeah, there was one of Turpin's gang. He did actually rape the maid of the house that they were burgling, because he wasn't actually a highwayman for very long at all. He was actually what do they call them, like housebreaking type person. That's what his gang did. They broke into houses. That was their MO. He was only a highwayman for an incredibly short time, and he did use Epping Forest a lot, and he's meant to have had a hideout in Epping Forest that his wife would deliver food to. It's meant to have been a cave, but nobody knows officially where that is anymore because it's been built over.
Oh, way. That's a shame, and when sort of history like that does go, and well, we don't know what's under the ground, do we? Just like Richard III. Oh, bless you, Helen. Thanks for that comment. I'm surprised.
I wasn't meaning to upset you or anything, Helen. It's a bit like, I mean, it seems a shame. I always think it's a shame that characters like Dick Turpin, Jack the Ripper, all of those seem to be sort of idolized. Oh, shut up, Reynolds. Seem to be idolized. But they were horrible people. Why don't we? This is a good question, actually, for people listening. Why don't we idolize the nice people? Why don't we? I think it was when Hallie Rubinold wrote her book about the Ripper's 5 victims. We know more about who we think the Ripper is than about his victims. And it's almost like we just assume they were prostitutes. But her book actually goes into, there's no definite proof they were habitual prostitutes. Wow. That, and it's a good point. Why are we always drawn to the bad people? Why don't we look into their victims and talk about them in a positive light?
Because sometimes is it just because they're what we call normal people? They're just doing a day job, so they go to work, they go home, they have tea. That's it. That's their life. And the fact that something happened to them, what sort of changed the course of history for their lives. That forever people will know who they are and things like that. But whereas it's somebody who's been notorious, it's like, what gets a mind like that? Is it
the other thing though to bear in mind,
how they change or whatever?
The other thing to bear in mind is, though, most of these people we look up to, like the Ripper, like Turpin, all men. A lot of their victims are women.
Correct.
And it's quite misogynistic, and this was something to that when I did this, I was on this lecture from Susanna. This is one of the things she was saying about is giving women a voice, which is why when I do Help My House is Haunted, when I come across a case that's a woman that nobody will have heard of, she won't have done anything massive for history, but her story comes through. I think it's great because it remembers that person who otherwise history wouldn't remember. Right, yeah. So I mean, it's like one of the things I'll say to people is, who can name the 5 Jack the Ripper victims? Who can name them?
Oh God, I'm rubbish at names, so I can't.
But that's the point.
But I've heard the names. I've been to a lecture, Russell Edwards. I've been there when he's mentioned them.
Yeah.
And I'm just shocking with
I
it.
can't remember them off the top of my
No.
head right now, but like I say, I have 1,000 years of history to try and remember, and
Oh
I can't
gosh.
always remember all the information. I know where to find it. I know
Yeah.
there is there, but it's things like that that I like giving people a voice or a
Yeah.
memory that hadn't got one before, because I think they deserve
If it
it.
goes well, bless you.
See you,
Oh,
Lynn. Thank you. Yeah, I think they
yeah.
deserve it.
Yeah, it is true. You know, they lost their life, and it, you shouldn't want to know about them. It's right, isn't it?
What Helen has just said, that Turpin never freaks her out. I think that's who she's talking about.
Yeah.
He wouldn't. He actually wasn't. He wasn't aggressive towards women. Really,
Right.
he. Like I say, he wasn't one of the ones who was abusive towards women. One of the
Uh,
gang did. If he'd done it once, I would have thought he'd done it before,
well,
raped like
yeah.
a victim. Turpin was married.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's some amazing stories about him that, if they're true, because obviously my part of the world is where he was from, and yeah, it's. I genuinely don't believe the Ripper was female. I
Oh, there could
don't
be two
think.
of the. Oh, here we
Thank
go.
you, Helena.
Hello. Yeah, I know. We always have a. Hello, Rachel. We always have a clever one, don't we?
Yes, smart ass.
She's been very clever tonight. You win the prize.
Thank you, thank you. I knew there were lots of Marys. I knew that much. A bit like with
Yeah, Catherine Eddowes. That's the shawl, isn't it?
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
supposedly, I don't believe that
yeah.
either. Personally, it
I've
would have been
seen
Judy.
it. I have seen it. Yeah.
A carpenter. I don't know. There's a couple of people I think it could have been, but we're not talking about Jack the Ripper.
No.
There's nothing wrong with being a geek, Helena. I am proud to be a history geek. And I probably could have thought the names if I wasn't actually talking and thinking about what I'm talking about next. I can recite them.
Yeah,
I just
that's right.
couldn't remember them off the top of my head right now. But I think it's the fact that we tend to focus on the people that we've heard of, the names, the famous names, rather than looking into the more sort of supporting characters of the play. And I always think it's interesting to look at the supporting ones rather than the headliners, because the supporting ones have some quite interesting stories to tell. What do you win for being a smart ass?
Yeah. There we go. Chance to investigate with me sometime, Helena, when you get round to booking. But yeah. I've just totally lost it now. But yeah, you did the girls, the Haunted Antiques one you did.
Yes.
The Spitfire girls. That was fascinating. Yeah. Like, once again, you're picking on, you're mentioning females. Like, people don't know about that. And you're sort of taking the females and what they actually did for the war effort.
But the other part of that talk was more to do with who the ATA were, the Air Transport Auxiliary.
That's right.
Because the thing is, because the women were so unique, what they did was amazing. People forget there were men doing it, and they were men that were in the minorities doing it. So the fact you had one of the pilots only had one arm and one eye, because in World War One he'd blown himself up when he was trying to drop a grenade or bomb thing out of his aircraft. He was flying those aeroplanes as well. You had, I think there was an Indian prince was one of the ones who flew. There were men who were too old, and I mean the nickname for the ATA was Ancient and Tattered Airmen. But that was also part of the talk. But the reason I focused on the female side is I'd found out that a friend of mine, her great aunt, I think it was one of the original pilots. And I've always been, because I love aeroplanes, I've been going up in aeroplanes since I was knee high to a grasshopper. They fascinated me because they really, really were pioneers. And I mean, a couple of them should have been proper combat pilots. They were such, like Lettice Curtis is the name and Jackie Mogridge is another one. They were such talented pilots. Barder did, but you won't get me compliment. I can't stand Douglas Barder. He lost his legs because he was showboating, and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
he was doing aerobatics and showboating, and he lost it. He lost control of the aeroplane. I mean, the fact,
Okay.
yes,
Right.
the fact he did fly with prosthetics is pretty impressive, but
Yeah.
he wasn't a nice person.
Well, it's kind of
Um,
self-inflicted in a way, then, wasn't it? Just
mhm.
for being too clever, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but but the point was, you had an awful lot of people who were too old to be in the RAF, but were still incredibly talented pilots,
Yeah.
literally at times flying by the seat of their pants. I mean, they wouldn't just be ferrying brand new aircraft; they'd also be ferrying aircraft. Thank you, Helena. Yeah. He shouldn't have been showing off. They were also ferrying aircraft that had been damaged, and I remember reading the book. I think it was Spitfire Girls. One of them was describing the aeroplane that she was flying. I think it was a Spitfire. The undercarriage had been blown off. So she's
Oh,
flying with no undercarriage, which is, for those of you who don't know, that's the bit underneath
well,
the
see
aeroplane.
underneath,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. She could actually see the cables from the pedals because there was nothing
Oh,
covering them.
God.
And she had to bring that aeroplane in and land. Helena, you and we should be best friends because that is exactly how I feel about Barda. Yeah. He made an awful lot of trouble as well because he wasn't part of the leading fighter wing during. Well, I won't get into this, but
Oh,
yeah.
that didn't go down well, did it? With him then? Yeah.
No, he was
Hit his ego a bit then.
Lee Mallory, not oh hell, can't remember the other guy's name. That's just gone from out my memory. Anyway,
But you
again,
remember so much of this, don't you?
I wasn't expecting us to be talking about
No,
this.
we're not.
But yeah, the Spitfire girls, they were
Yeah.
amazing. He was an arsehat, yes. But yeah, these women, I mean, they were flying without instrument training. So if they flew into to thick cloud where they couldn't use what they call dead reckoning, where you're using looking at down to see where you are,
Yeah.
like to follow a river or whatever, they
Yeah.
weren't trained to fly on instruments. They had no radios. They had no weapons. They were
Wow.
flying blind. And the fact that not more of them died, not many of, I can't remember what the statistics were, not many of them died. But you had one, Diana Bonato Walker. She kind of faked her way in. She didn't have enough flying hours, but she kind of blagged her way in. And she got caught in bad weather. But her fiance was a fighter pilot and had taught her how to fly in instruments.
Oh
So
my
she
gosh.
was able to get out of it all safely because he taught her how to fly an instrument. And but they didn't even have their own uniforms. They had to pay for their own uniforms at the beginning of it. They were expected to fly in skirts and all
Oh,
this kind of
yeah, it
absolute
was
rubbish.
but it was, wasn't it? You know, you had to wear skirts, even like when we went to school.
But he did he
You know, and
um
everyone had to wear skirts. It's ridiculous.
they did I can't think what their like commander in chief, her name was, it's gone out of my mind, but she actually campaigned for them to be allowed to wear trousers when they were flying because it was easier for them. But
Oh,
there's
that's
little things like that you just, I mean, a lot of these women were expert pilots. I mean, my friend's great aunt, I think she was the first ever woman to hold a flying instructor's qualification.
wow. Yeah.
So these women were amazing. I think
It's the
Lettice
way
Kerr.
she's fought to do that as well.
Mm,
You know, it's not just getting that license, but
mm,
fighting to be allowed to do it and everything.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, amazing. They were amazing. But all of the pilots who flew for the ATA, they were they were disabled. They were older. They were former Royal Flying Corps from the World War One pilots who were injured. They were ones who were incredibly talented pilots, but because they didn't fit the stereotype of what the RAF were wanting, they weren't allowed to fly in combat, so they flew for the ATA instead. And without them, this is what a lot of people don't realise with the ATA, is without those pilots, the aircraft wouldn't have got from the factories to the airfields. And a lot of time they had pilots ready to get into the aircraft, but they didn't have aircraft because the aircraft took, the pilots could parachute out, hopefully, be ready to fly again. But they needed the aircraft. Well, either they took RAF pilots off active duty to ferry them, or they got someone else in to do it. And so, yeah, the ATA, it's there is actually quite a lot of stuff out there about the ladies if you look for it, is the honest answer. But you have to look for it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not.
not going to be the main thing in books, is it? It's all
No.
certain male
Hey,
heroes.
Ashman.
So.
That's my Yorkshire girl. She's coming to America and Canada with me in May.
Oh, fantastic. Have a great time. Oh,
But yeah, the ATA, it's, I mean, I don't know, I might roll that presentation out again at one of the Parameets, you never know.
yeah, it was a good one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And
Thank you.
yeah, I think when it's sort of the history side of things, what you never thought of, and that's what makes it more special. You know.
Oh, well, that's what I like to talk about, is the stuff that people don't expect me to be. She's just put, she's being dragged. She is not being dragged. She is not kicking or screaming. Yeah. Yeah, well, there was one of the aircraft that went down. It had it did have a couple of nurses on board who were getting a ferry aircraft to somewhere else. So yeah, there's so many stories. I mean, when you start looking into like the World War One medical staff and the nurses who were in the field hospitals and stuff they actually dealt with and experienced as well, it's never ending, and that's what I love about it.
You've actually just reminded me, like, I know when we're at Haunted Antiques and you're doing the talk, I did mention my ex's grandmother. She was parachuted into France to help with the resistance.
Yeah.
I've now remembered that she was actually a nurse. So that's the reason she was there. And, you know, I never thought about it until now that, yeah, it's because she was a nurse. That's why, you know, and she's on the ground helping the war effort. And
well, I met a client once in my day job. This is about 20 years ago. And his mum had just died. And she'd had dementia before she died. So they knew she'd done something in World War II, but they never knew what. Well, when they were going through her possessions, they found a death head ring. You know, the Gestapo SS death head ring.
Gosh.
And they started digging into it. And it found out she was SOE. And she'd been in France as SOE and had actually helped kill a Gestapo soldier and taken his ring as a souvenir. And I mean, he's like, I wish I'd known this when she was alive. But she never ever mentioned it.
They didn't.
And
none of them did.
I mean, what Carl's just said then about them, that actually started World War One. It was World War One that the women took over the jobs.
Yeah, that's right.
They took over the jobs then.
They were in the munitions and everything, weren't they? You know, they were just
doing the Canary Girls. But they were driving the buses. They worked as a police force. They did all what the men would have been doing. But when the men came back, they were told to step back down. But it was after World War II that they were like, we're not stepping down again. We quite like this. So I'm simplifying that quite a bit.
Yeah,
a bit more to it than that. But yeah, it was World War One that the women started taking on the men's roles. I mean, it's and history is made out to be. There are romantic, beautiful bits of history, but an awful lot of it is. I always say to people, if you're into horror films, just look into history, because I guarantee there's stuff that really genuinely happened that's worse than any horror film you can ever picture.
Yeah, well, I've spent the last three weekends. I spent a night at Tutbury. You know, three consecutive weekends, and the stuff we're picking up there. I spent a lot of time in the dungeon / torture chamber, and oh gosh, it's you know, and history can be horrible, can't it?
It can.
You know,
it can. But it's learning it and understanding it, and and seeing parallels as well, which is the scary thing, because I was actually thinking of one today while I was working on my talk for the Scary Southwest conference in March. I was thinking of a parallel between Richard III and our current royal family. So I was like, oh, that actually does work if I use that as an analogy.
Oh dear. Yeah, because that's going a bit of a mess, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah. Well, talking about Charles, Andrew, Anne, Andrew, and Edward, and comparing them to Edward, George, Richard, and their sister, and it actually, when I started thinking about it as an analogy to use, it actually works. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to end up in the tower.
Yes. At least things aren't as bad as that anymore with the tower. I think a lot of us would be in the tower, really. Like every time we've, like a lot of people have spoke about this and that, which, yeah, you'd be in the tower if you caught. But nowadays,
Yes, there would have been.
oh wow,
There would
yeah,
have been tea ladies. I can't remember what they called them. My mind's just gone blank. But yes, there would have been. They would have been preparing tea and stuff. Yes, there would also have been women building the aircraft. Don't
yeah,
forget
yeah.
that.
Of course I would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So wow, that's amazing. But wow, you've got such a bit busy year ahead. You've got
Yes,
so many conferences, parameets.
brilliant, isn't it?
Explain.
Brilliant.
Yeah, awesome. So, how many times are you at the Parameet?
All three at the
You're at all
moment, as
three.
far as
That's
I'm aware.
awesome.
I won't be there for like the whole weekend then,
Right.
like I was
Okay.
for the last one, because with three
Yeah.
going on, I just can't do it. But no, I
Yeah.
will be there for the day when I think the South one I'm talking on the Sunday,
Right.
Hinckley I'm talking on the Saturday, and then Pontefract I'm talking on the Sunday. So I'll be there for those
Yeah.
days around at some point. But yeah, so I'm at all three.
That's cool because there's a party on Saturday night at Hinkley.
Yeah, I won't be staying
Won't
for
be
that.
on that
I'll be
one.
coming
Yeah.
back home with it's
Yeah.
getting to
It's
the
the
stage.
traveling, isn't it?
It is
Yeah.
the traveling, but it's also the fact I'm getting so much on, which is great. I kind of have to
Yeah.
use my time, and because I've still got a husband and kids, so I kind of
Yeah.
have to
That's
spend a little
right.
bit of time with them.
Of course
You
you
know,
do.
they kind of expect it.
Priority. Well, yeah. Family does take priority. And,
Yeah,
like
I might be bringing the older son to one of the events. I have
oh,
promised him I'll
brilliant.
bring him, so he'll be like a
Oh,
deer in
fantastic.
headlights when people start speaking to him. He'll,
Oh, awesome. Yeah, like me trying to arrange a dog, and kennels for him. And
Mm.
like I think I'm away 4 or 5 weekends this year already, and like I haven't got much chance to do any more. And I
Yeah,
did
no,
want to try and get to Romania, but that's not going to happen.
I've got five paracons booked in for this year at the
Wow.
moment. Next month I'm down in Bude doing the Scary Southwest, and I must admit I'm still blown away by the lineup that I'm on the same lineup as, because I'm on the same lineup as Jane Harris, Kate Sherrill, and Karen Besant, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, how did this happen?
Yeah, you're awesome though. You
Yeah, but
really
how did I end up on the same lineup as them? That was
because you're
just it's
good. That's why.
inferiority
Yeah.
complex. Don't worry.
Oh, bless
And
you.
then
No, you're amazing.
I've got the 3 Parameets, and then obviously the Festival of the Unexplained in September. That I'll be doing the history tour out on the Friday like last year. I'm not sure if I'm doing a talk on the weekend yet, but I'll be there for the whole event for anyone who's going there. So yeah, it's and then I've just been booked to do a talk for Portals to the Paranormal in December at
Oh,
Kelwood and Hatch,
excellent.
and then an
Oh,
investigation which I'll
yeah.
be part of with people
They are a
as
lovely
well.
team as well. Yeah,
They're a lovely team, and
Nando came on at the beginning and said
yeah,
hello. So
you did. Yeah, they're a nice bunch,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I know the Hatch quite well, and it's only 20 minutes up the road from me, so
Oh, that's nice. That's
yeah,
better.
I quite like that.
Yeah,
Not too
that's
much
it. Nipping
traveling.
down the road. This is it. With this like so many fantastic locations and the travelling. Like I do restrict it to an hour travelling at night because I've got to drive back.
Yeah,
I do get
I tend to say 2 hours. If it's more than 2 hours, and I'll book a hotel, and that's what makes me decide whether I'm going to do it or not.
Yeah.
But I do. The traveling, especially when you're. Oh, shut up, Dennis.
I wonder what's going on there.
He reckons I don't talk properly, and he can't understand me.
I want to put the captions on to see what it says, just so I can have a laugh.
Bear in mind, he's from. Well, I was going to say he's a Brummie, because that would really annoy him if I call him a Brummie.
Yeah, call him a Brummie.
He calls me the Cockney. And it's a bit of a standing joke, because thank you. Yeah, I'm Essex too, born and bred, happy and proud to be Essex. No, Dennis, it's a standing joke. He always says he can't understand me.
Yes.
because I don't talk properly.
Proper
It's,
like.
yeah, he said when the most recent Help episode, the Jodie Kidd one, came out, he did actually put "Where are the captions?" So
Awesome. Oh, that's
he
brilliant.
thinks he's funny. I try not to encourage him really, but
It is men, I love Wednesbury, so yeah, I did find sort
the
of
thing is, the thing is, because I've been around for so long now, I've got these kind of like jokes with people, and
yeah.
so yeah, when they're all starting on me now,
Oh, there you go.
I'm ignoring them.
And we have
Chelmsford,
Chelmsford,
Chelmsford.
right?
Um, no,
It's just started. It started. That's it. Dennis has just done it, hasn't he? Really?
mhm.
We were
I get
doing
used to
so
it with these
well.
lot. I get used to it with these lot. I'll get
Yeah.
my own back on them when I see them at a Paracon. I'll pull them out in front of everyone, that kind of thing. Yeah, just up the road from me then. Baz Vegas. Yeah, I'll pull them. I'll embarrass them when they're in the audience.
Yay.
I get my own back.
Oh yeah, that's the way, isn't it? No, it's just it's brilliant. And do you do a different talk for each one, or
For the Parameets, I haven't decided yet. I am writing a new talk for the first one because a lot of people after the last year said, "Oh, we hoped you were going to talk workhouses again." So I'm writing a new workhouse talk, which is actually looking more at, and I haven't finished it yet, so I can't really tell. I'm not being secretive. It's going to look more at the individuals who were in a workhouse and follow a few of them, what happened to them, and all that kind of thing. So I'm focusing on Chelmsford Workhouse because obviously that's my local
yeah,
one,
that's
and it's also
right. Yeah.
I can get to see the archives for that one quite easily.
Oh yeah.
So I can do really good research, and it's got some interesting stories. So but yeah, it's looking more at, rather than generically about workhouses, is some of
It's
the
specific. Yeah.
people, which I like to do. I like to give people an identity who, like I
Yeah.
say, otherwise history's forgotten.
Yeah, it brings life into a place like
Mm,
Workhouse. You've got the theory behind it and everything, but
mm,
yeah, to bring a character in it and a personality makes a
mm,
whole load of difference. I did play, and it's 3 women at number 40. So it's basically women, someone from the 60s, someone from 70s, 80s, and
mhm,
it was like a 15-minute chat from in character. So as a 60s girl. My sister saw it. She says, "Well, why don't they roll that into schools?
mm.
Because they kind of find out more from that about
Yeah.
how life was than reading through this textbook, which doesn't come to life. But to
Mhm,
actually hear a character saying how hard it was,
mhm,
as well, I think she had a baby and she went
mhm.
to work in the days that they didn't. And people just don't think about things like that, do they? Nowadays it's just so much the norm.
I think a lot of the younger generation don't realise what the other older generation have achieved to enable us to do
That's
what
right.
we
Yeah.
do. I mean, when you look at women holding jobs back in up until, well, even during the First World War, if you were a nurse and you got married, you had to leave work. You weren't allowed to carry on working once you were married,
Wow.
which is archaic.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's the women fighting that, and I don't know the history of the women who fought that for it to not happen anymore. But it's the fact
Yeah.
that it did, the fact that um, there were two. I can't remember the exact details, and there's somebody in the watching might know it. There was two female doctors who offered their services as World War One doctors and were told no because you're women, basically. So they set up their own volunteer hospital. I can't remember where it was. It was
Wow.
abroad to
Yeah.
help. So there's things like that these people. Hi, Mark. These people need, I think, to be remembered. And there are people out there talking about them. And I mean, there's some brilliant historians out there talking about them, but they're not TV historians. So a lot of people won't have heard of them. And
Yeah, that's right.
um,
I won't notice.
yeah, so it's making people realize just who what. But then again, there's fact there was, I'm not being sexist on the women's side. I used to go to school with a guy. He was amazing with children. He had two little brothers because his mum was quite young when she'd had him, and when she had two
Yeah.
children, so when he was about 12. absolutely amazing with children. He wanted to work with children. He wanted to be a paediatric nurse. Back in the 80s, he was
Couldn't.
told, no way, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
But now you can.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I think it does the sexism and the preconceptions and everything else, they do work both ways. And I do think, I remember there was a book I read once, and it was one of my mum's, and I don't think I should have read it. I think it was called Up the Junction, and it was about a young girl in the 60s who got pregnant and had to have an illegal abortion, and it nearly killed her.
Wow.
And you sort of read stuff like that. I was about 13, 14, and I was like, oh my God, did this used to really happen? And yes, it did. And I just, anyone who says to me that history is boring and history hasn't got a part in the greater picture of things, they've not been with the right historian. They've been with the ones who just go mark dates and figures, dates and figures, dates and figures. Yeah, it's there's so much stuff and stuff that's in living memory as well. I mean, when COVID happened, I was saying to my husband, in 20 years' time or 30 years' time, our grandkids are going to say to us, do you remember COVID?
Yeah.
Do you remember the COVID epidemic? And it's like we are, everything is history, everything. And that's
it.
what I think
we're
is so
part
cool.
of a pandemic, and you sort of hear about the Black Death and the pandemics and things like, oh wow,
Spanish flu in 1918.
Yeah, that's it. Part of it. Like I started writing my book then, and there's a chapter where so it's like, I don't know what the future holds.
No.
Because at the time they're saying, oh, you'll never be able to go out and socialise, you'll never do this, and it was scary. It
was weird.
I mean, if we went out, we'd die basically. And we just didn't know, did we? And that was it. So
yeah, I mean, it's
that way.
But it's one of those things that it is going to be something that my grandchildren will probably ask me if I remember, like I used to ask my grandparents if they remembered World War II. And I think, I don't know how we got onto that, but I just love the fact this is I've chosen something that I will never know it all. And I will never stop learning, because I start off with only being interested. I started off with being interested in World War II aeroplanes. That was what I loved. And then I kind of found something else, and then found something else. And then my mum made me read Birdsong, which made me fascinated about World War I. So I had to go and learn about World War I. And writing the Bosworth book, I had to learn about the Battle of Bosworth Field.
Yeah.
And so that made me start learning about the Plantagenets and thinking, oh my God, they're more interesting than the Tudors. And it's kind of like, and my husband's like, please don't take on another time period in history to get infatuated with. And I'm like, it doesn't stop. It really doesn't stop. And it's just awesome, really.
No, it's wonderful how you're so passionate about it, and it obviously it just grips, doesn't it? And then you just got to find out more and more. And like when you think that Richard III is found under a car park in Leicester, and you don't know what's underneath us.
Nope.
And over time, like I keep sharing things onto my page because I keep finding, you might be in a house and they find a cellar to something. I was talking I was on a works leaving do on Friday. My friend's got she's got a vegetable plot, and it's got stairs down to a bunker. Like, awesome. So I guess where I'm going in summer, it's like, a little bunker. It's like proper built.
Wow.
And like, so I'm it's not big, but my gosh, I'm going there investigating, and I can't wait.
Can I come too?
Yeah.
That sounds very cool.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, it's amazing. And then the location of it is quite near a hospital as well. So, you've got this as well. So it's not just the war. You've got a lot of other stuff happening around it. And
it's
so fascinating.
Yeah, it really is never ending. And no, I haven't looked into the Borgias. Obviously, I've heard of them, but like I say, at the moment, I've got enough side quests on. I really think the husband would kill me if I took another one.
But Dick Turpin's there now.
Well, I mean, you're talking about sort of you don't know what's under your feet. The most recent podcast I released on haunted histories was to do with body snatchers. If any of you haven't listened to it, go and have a listen. It's really rather interesting.
And you find it on the Haunted Histories page?
You can find it on the Haunted Histories page, or just
And
look Haunted Histories on Spotify.
I will try and share it onto here anyway.
I think I've shared it onto Paranormal Path, because you always let me share my podcasts.
Oh gosh, definitely, you need to. Yeah.
But it's with somebody called Paul Bestel, who he does a podcast called History Rage. Right. No, Paul Bavel, sorry, not Bestel. Paul Bavel, who does History Rage. There's too many Paul B's. Yeah. And he was saying that body snatching. Thank you, Mark. Body snatching was so bad in the 1800s. There was a program he was watching with Dr. Alice, the one who always has like red hair, leather jacket, very, very cool. Can't think what her surname is. No, if anyone knows in the audience, please put it in, because I can't remember. Anyway, they were doing some digs, and they were finding all these empty coffins, because a lot of London, people don't realise, when you're walking around London, you're actually walking over former graveyards.
Oh, wow.
Nearly all of it. And they were finding all these coffins that were empty, that had obviously been snatched. Yeah. Nobody ever realised, because the successful body snatchers would come and go without anyone realising they'd been. Wow. And that's what I mean. It's like you could be walking around a graveyard. Alice Roberts, thank you. Yes. And Dr. Alice Roberts, was she a professor? I'm not sure. Another brilliant one. Brilliant. Blows my mind. One of my heroes. But, it's saying you could be walking around a graveyard and thinking that there's a grave there from like 1840, and it might just be empty, because it might have been robbed, and nobody will know. The body might have been snatched. Nobody will know until they open it up, which they may never do. So it's things like that. It does make you look at things slightly differently.
Yeah. It sort of says, like my house, I went to an investigation around the corner, not far away, and they said, like, I'm right near a church, you can see it from here. And they basically say, like, all the land around here was a Saxon graveyard. And we've actually got a Saxon cross here as well. And it makes sense, but I'd love to know what's under my house. But
yeah, but no, the body snatching thing was, although this is the only problem when you do what I do. I was watching a program the other night, and it was an American version of body snatch. It was a history program. They talked about grave robbers, and I was actually yelling at the television, they're not grave robbers, they're body snatchers. There is a big, big difference. And I made that mistake, and Paul corrected me and explained why grave robbers were not body snatchers and vice versa. So if you want to know why that is, listen to the podcast. But it does mean that when you listen to someone saying, oh yeah, they were grave robbers taking the bodies, no, that's actually not grave robbing, that's body snatching. And the difference is
the jewelry, isn't it? And
grave robbing you could actually get hanged for, because it's stealing. Snatching a body and leaving all their belongings, morally wrong, but legally there's not a lot they can do. So it's a very, very important difference. And
they left the belongings then.
Yeah. You need to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I definitely do. Yes. Oops.
Yeah. There was one of the prolific gangs in London. He did actually get transported to Australia, and that because he took some of the belongings off one of the bodies they snatched. So no, if you just took the body, literally it was a slap on the wrist. I think they would get like 2 or 3 weeks hard labour, and that was it. But if you took the belongings, that was a different thing. So that was one of the rules. You never take the belongings. They had rules. Yeah, Helena's right.
Yeah.
What she's put. It's almost like it's almost like I've teed her up for this, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm a bit concerned she's after my job. But she's completely correct. The body doesn't belong to anyone, but the belongings do. So you can't get done for thieving a body. It's a moral issue as opposed to a criminal one.
Wow. Yeah.
But the podcast talks about that. So anyone who's not listened, you need to go and have a listen to it, because it's one I'm incredibly proud of. And I will be appearing on Paul's podcast History Rage a bit later this year.
That's fantastic. So,
although unfortunately I didn't win the swearing award, which I was really disappointed about, because he said I can swear and I found out that I didn't get anywhere close to winning the swearing award, which I was really disappointed about when I was raging about something. And I was raging. I was raging, but informationally raging.
Yeah. Bless you. Right. So you've done a number of books. We've mentioned Bosworth, and how many books in total then for everyone watching?
5. Hold on. My Haunted Histories, A Haunted Experiment, Paranormal Playtimes, Battle for Bosworth, Epping Forest. 5
Yeah,
so far. I'm working on the 6th at the moment.
that's brilliant. So you say you do about one a year, which it's incredible to do that. Between everything else you're doing.
I find it quite cathartic, though. I mean, the one I'm writing at the moment is more. I've had an awful lot of people say we want something that's more autobiographical from you, like your own experiences, as opposed to writing about other place. So the one I'm writing at the moment is more about where I've come from and things that have happened to me, personal things that have happened to me that I've never really written about before, so people can get, if they want to, get more of an insight into me. But yeah, so I'm working on. I don't know when it'll be finished. I'm about 2/3 of the way through the initial draft. But yeah, it's book number 6 is well underway.
How do you feel writing about you? Because that's what my book is, and it's like, oh gosh.
Well, one of the chapters does address me losing my sister when she was 19 and I was 22.
Yeah.
And I actually sent it to someone who I respect a lot, who's actually was in the audience. I don't know if she still is. And she said, we need to see more of you. You need to talk more about you and how, and because I'm so used to almost hiding it. I don't. So I find it quite cathartic, but I also find it weird that anyone would want to know about me because I don't think I'm very interesting. So it will be a bit of an experiment to see if anyone buys it. But it was, even when if I write fiction, I am the character, if that makes sense. I'm envisaging me as the character, even though I'm not 5'8", size 12, sort of, I don't know, Charlize Theron type character, but that's what I've written. So there's always a bit of me in everything I do, but yeah, writing about my own. I'm kind of writing about my own personal experiences, but then doing some history in it, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm known for. So it'd be a shame.
Yeah.
Essex girls unite. We've got to stick together. I don't know. I'm ignoring him, Mark. I'm finding it quite interesting because I'm remembering things I'd forgotten as I write.
You do. That's right.
And it's not so much emotional writing about my late sister and all of that. It's more. It's just opening up, and it's actually quite therapeutic. It is quite therapeutic.
That's you.
Yeah. So I don't know when that one will be finished. Like I say, I'm about 2/3 of the way through the first draft. So cool. I'm hoping I'll have got it all sorted by the Festival of the Unexplained in September. So it'll be at that, and then the October Parameet as well. But who knows what will come up?
Put it this way, you're also incredibly busy. So we've had the discussion. You've got a day job. You've got all these Parameets, Paracons, so you've got the weekends. Also, you've been on a TV show.
Once or twice.
Well, that's taking time off as well, isn't it?
It does, yeah. Yeah, that when I do, even though I'm only on screen for 5 minutes for help, My House is Haunted.
Yeah,
that's probably a good
everything, isn't it?
7-8 hours worth of research per show minimum. But I like it. I enjoy research. It's my that and lifting weights at the gym is what I find calms me down.
That's good.
No, I mean, I actually watched the Jodie Kidd episode, which is the newest one out on Discovery Plus. I actually watched it today, and even I had goosebumps. I actually texted Jane Harris and said, "Come on, mate, that can't really have happened." And she wrote back, she said, "Honestly, it really did. We really did hear that name said in real time."
That's fantastic.
It wasn't faked, any of it. So because I think people sort of think, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen, so I make sure I find the history that fits in with what's happening. I don't
Oh, right.
get much direction at all.
And then it just comes through. That's brilliant.
I'll find sort of 3 or 4 historical sort of stories for them, and then it's for some reason one of them, which is normally the most out there story, hits, and that's how it's been every episode I've done.
That's brilliant.
Sorry, I'm reading the comments as they're going through, and it's
good. Is that at the Parameet? Which one, Mark?
Oh dear, he's scared of me as Mark. He's terrified of me.
Let's get a photo of you together next time then.
Well, you've got the one of me with my tongue in his ear at the last Parameet. Do you not remember?
Oh God, I did.
Yeah. I didn't actually contact. People think my tongue was actually in his ear. It really wasn't. I did it at the last minute to make his lovely wife laugh, because she burst out laughing when she saw me do it.
I'll have to find that photo. Yeah,
there was
it was with my phone and not my camera. Yeah,
there was no contact. It was to make them laugh. That really was the reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, with help, no, I don't get much direction. It's like one of my favourite episodes I've ever done for them was the Jake Quickenden one in Colchester, and all I got told was something Civil War. That's Civil War and witches was all I got given as direction. And then to find out that an old farmhouse was on the site of where his brand new build house is, that in the 1930s they discovered a fake room that with a loft hatch, and when they prodded the loft hatch, the body of a Civil War soldier still in his armour fell down like a skeleton. And that was exactly where Jake's house is. Finding that, that was one of my squealy moments at the computer, because I was like, that can't be right. And I was triple checking it to make sure the location was right.
Oh my gosh.
And because Civil War isn't one of my specialities at all, but it meant that I learned about the Siege of Colchester and then the Battle of Boxted Heath, and I went and looked at the archives and to double check a few things that I wanted to make sure I was correct. And
wow, that's so fascinating.
So that sort of thing does.
It's a massive thing, isn't it? And
but all I got told was Civil War. And I knew that Boxted Heath had something to do with the Civil War, because I'd heard of the Battle of Boxted. Because I'm from Essex, I'd heard of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite know exactly what had happened, and then to find out the whole backstory to the Siege of Colchester and then the Battle of Boxted Heath, and the fact that his brand new build house was on the site of this old farmhouse which they'd hidden in during that time, and the Cavalier soldiers had hidden in. When you find that, and I didn't get given direction to find that out. Nobody knew that.
That's incredible.
So it's. The Jodie Kidd one, it was apparently the pub was even more active than the TV show was able to show with the time that they had. And it was beautiful. I got to go in it. When I got there, because we were early, I said, can I have a look around? I didn't get to meet Jodie, but I got to look around. And it is amazing. It is an amazing place. But there was lots of stories about that village that we could have featured. That are quite, for such a small place, there was so much history to it. It's brilliant.
Is that mainly because of the Civil War then?
What, the Jodie Kidd?
Yeah. Well,
no,
the village.
No, Jodie Kidd's one was Curdford in Sussex.
Okay.
No, when I did the research for that episode, the one that's just been released, there was a lot of stories that I would have been able to tell that were absolutely fascinating, but they didn't fit with what was actually happening in the pub. Exactly, and you've only got 45 minutes as well, so they're going to be selective. But no, Boxted Heath, the Jake Quickenden one, there's a story about a witch who supposedly, because obviously Hopkins and Stern were from Essex, and they'd called them in supposedly because this supposed woman who they said was a witch, I think it was a cow or something she'd caused to die, but the villagers took it upon themselves to execute her, and they hanged her, and she disappeared. Body just disappeared. And that's one of the stories from there, but there's no way of proving. I couldn't find any. No. I found that the woman's name, she did genuinely exist, but nothing that would denote that she was hanged for being a supposed witch. But Essex has got so many witch stories. We're witch country. We've got more witch stories than anywhere else. So it's kind of easy pickings there. But no, it is busy when I do an episode, but it's fun. And
that's right. Good.
And like I've said before, the crew, both on and off camera, for help, are just so much fun to work with. And they're friends now. So there's lots of hugs and have you been doing, what have you been up to, so whenever we catch up. So it's nice.
Yeah. But it certainly helps, like when the chemistry's like that, you know, it just helps make something more successful as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, Jane and I do have to be careful because sometimes we'll be cracking in jokes with each other and we'll just burst out laughing and things like that. But we do try and be professional when we're working.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, they're just such a cool crew to work with, and
that's awesome.
It's a lot of fun. But I don't think I had any aspirations to be on telly, but apparently I'm quite good at it. So I just enjoy myself, really. And I have fun. I enjoy discovering these facts and then being able to pass them on to people and making these people real again that society has forgotten.
Yeah, but you've got the passion, and it's the way you tell these stories as well. You know, anyone could tell a story. People can fall asleep. Like, gosh, you get some history teachers who just follow the topic of history, don't they? But you actually make things interesting. But you also bring sort of the individual human aspect, which that makes it more.
That's what I'm interested in. It's the social side. It's the real side. It's rather than sort of, I don't particularly, when I look at like World War II history, although I'm fascinated by aeroplanes and stuff because I love aeroplanes, I'm actually not that interested in battle strategies or anything like that. I'm interested on how did the woman with 6 kids trying to work on rations cope back home? How did the OAP whose son was his carer living in London cope with the Blitz? That's the kind of thing I'm interested in. It's real people. I mean, battles they are interesting. But the thing is, I'm not. When people think of battles, obviously you've got the D-Day, I think 80th anniversary coming up this year, which is fascinating. But when I went to Normandy with the family, I was more interested in what happened once they got off the beach, because the battle didn't end on the beach.
That's true, yeah.
And you've got the Battle of Falaise, you've got the Battle of the Bocage, you've got all these other things that most people have never heard of.
Yeah.
That the beach was just one element of it. Or it was a biggie, but it was one element.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of interested in how the people coped and what they did, and everything else.
You're already friends. Sorry. There you go.
It tells you how often I go on Facebook.
You'll be chatting later now, then, won't you?
Yeah, not tonight though, because I'm shattered. But people don't know, this isn't my bedroom. I'm sat in a hotel room near Bournemouth because I've been doing my day job today. So I'm actually in a hotel, and no disrespect to Jacqueline, because I love talking to her. Once we're finished, I am hitting that bed.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, well, I think driving and the long day and the whole package, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And it is different when you're sort of staying away from home. It is. But yeah. Well, you've got night entertainment tonight, talking to me or not. But instead of going down the bar and just sitting there and having your meal on your own and all that jazz.
Oh no, I went. I'm only in a travel lodge, but there was an Asda, so I went and got a salad from there. It was the most bland salad I'd ever had. So I kind of ate half of it, and I was like, I'm not hungry anymore. But the care home that I'd been working at today, they had homemade cakes, so they made me take some cakes. So my dinner was lemon drizzle cake.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I've done some. I go and sort of do. We do a panto, so we put together something for a local care home, and they love it, and they've started feeding us, and oh my gosh.
Oh, my care homes are a nightmare.
Yeah.
My care homes are a nightmare for feeding me, and I was like, I really don't need feeding up, guys, and they're like, no, you've driven a long way to be here, you need sugar. And I'm like, oh, okay. And you can't say no to them because it is delicious. So
every time
So
we go, it's just getting worse. At first they put on a few sandwiches, but now, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And they did this beautiful display of like cupcakes last time, and it's
oh,
like,
that's not
oh
fair.
my gosh, it's
That's
just
not
getting
fair.
bad. But yeah. So yeah, they're trying to bribe us to go back, aren't they? They just want you back, and
Well,
at
talking of,
Christmas,
I mean,
it's
at
wrong.
last year's festival of the unexplained, there's this amazing bakers that come along that make these handmade cakes that are just pure diabetes.
No.
And I'd said to them, you should make one called the Ghost Hunter Special with Haribo on it.
Oh
So they
gosh.
did, and it was
Oh
very nice. Like I say, it was diabetes special. But
yeah.
yeah, so they made one and they were like, here you go. And I mean, these things are like this big and like this thick and, and absolutely and utterly blooming delicious. But they made
Yeah.
one based on my suggestion of using
Oh bless them. Oh,
Haribo. So yeah.
typical.
Yeah, so yeah, people do seem to. I mean, I have got a sweet tooth, but yeah, my dinner tonight was half a salad that was horrible,
I
and
know.
lemon drizzle.
Lemon. Awesome. Yeah. That is definitely a benefit of your job, isn't it? It's yeah.
Well, not really, because then I have to go and sort of
You go
get
to the
rid of
gym and
it.
have to
Yeah,
sort it out, don't you?
I mean, I like going to the gym. I like lifting weights, but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to help.
Oh bless
Um,
you.
Oh, Mark knows the cakes I'm talking about.
All
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, going to the gym doesn't seem to help. I seem to be getting to that age where no matter what I do, it's spreading. I'm lifting more than most of the 20-year-old blokes in the gym, but I still can't keep it at bay. But anyway,
Oh bless you.
embrace the spread, I think. Just be strong enough to
Oh,
throw someone
what
over
can,
my shoulder if they annoy
what
me.
can I say? But yeah. Hey hey.
I can hold on to the dog if he runs. That's fine. That's
Well,
fine.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I'm okay unless you just like. Sometimes he gets scared or something. So you're
Yeah.
okay walking, and then he might just jump in the wrong direction. That's when you go flying, isn't it? If you're just about to step and you're just off balance because he's just gone somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
just a bloke just doing something with his car, and we just walked by the driveway. The bloke popped his head out, and the dog like ran into the road from me behind him. But
Well,
you
because my
wouldn't
dog's
expect that,
he's
do
only
you?
got 3 legs. He's
Oh,
only got 3 legs, so he
gee,
wrong foots himself. And I think the worst accident I had. Hi, Bear. Lovely to see you. I think one of the worst accidents I had was he was about a year, 18 months old, and he's not aggressive to other dogs, but he loves them. He gets really
yeah.
excited because it
Yeah.
being a rescue and everything
Oh,
else and being found at 3 weeks old, so he wasn't with his mum, and there's loads of social
bless
things. But he's a very,
him.
very friendly dog, and I
Yeah.
was trying to lead him past these other dogs, and he was getting overly excited, and he wrong-footed himself, and I was stepping off the curb, so I only had one foot down. He
Oh,
swiped out my other leg, and I was sprawling into the road, and did take quite a few chunks out of my arm and leg and stuff. And so yeah, it wasn't malicious. It was just he wrong-footed himself because he was getting overly excited.
yeah.
So yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm loving the banter in the comments, by the way.
Yeah.
They're sort of having their own little conversation. It's great.
Oh, there you go. I just look and eat it. And
Yeah, that's our.
it's
Do you
weird.
know? Do you know Bear? Have you met Bear
No,
before? Oh,
no,
Bear's
not at
lovely.
all.
She's absolutely a sweetheart. I've known. Gosh, it's about 6 or 7 years now, isn't it, Bear? We've known each other,
Wow.
something like that. Yeah, absolute sweetheart. Absolute sweetheart. Um, I think you live by a giant lake, don't you, or something, Bear? Something like that.
That must be
Um,
amazing.
yeah, over in the States. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm listening to you. I'm multitasking,
It's
but
just
I'm looking
like,
at the
yeah.
comments. It's fascinating
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, Helena, you've got to come and sort of say hello to Penny. You won't be able to get away from talking to each other, will you? Really?
Well, I must
Yeah.
admit, when I met Dan Jones, I was nattering. We were nattering away, and his assistant goes, "We do have other people waiting to see you, Dan." And I'm just like, "Oh, damn it!" And he's like a bit like, "Oh, damn it." Yeah, we did say, "Why don't you come? We're going for pizza. Why don't you come with us?" And he's like, "Do you know what? I would if I hadn't got to go home tonight because he lives in Middlesex way." So yeah, it does get like that. It does get like that, but
Oh, how
it's all good.
lovely.
It's all good.
Awesome. Sounds
Yeah,
brilliant.
lots of animals does our bear. She has this. I don't like birds. I'm scared of them. But she has this absolutely beautiful bird that's got like pink and grey feathers.
Oh
I'm sure she'll be
wow.
able to tell you more about it. But they're real personalities, real
Yeah.
personalities. Her animals, but
Oh, that's
yeah, no,
brilliant.
bear's wonderful. Bear's wonderful.
Oh,
So
that's
there are lots of people actually in that feed. Actually, wonderful people who I've got to meet over sort of know over the
yeah,
last 7-8 years, and it's kind of
certainly. Yeah,
feels
we
like
get to
this
meet
is your
the
life.
Parameet. Oh,
It almost
that's
feels like this is
good.
your life at times when people start coming in.
Oh, bless you. No, that's nice, isn't it? But so for everyone watching, where'd you get your books from? Oh, African Grey. I love African Greys. Oh, they're stunning.
But this one's got
Yeah.
pink feathers, hasn't it, Bear? I think it's a he. Bear knows I'm scared of birds, but this one
Oh
is
wow.
very pretty. I wouldn't go near it, but it's very pretty
Oh,
to
bless
look at on the
you.
camera screen.
I'm a bit dubious about parrots and things because my friend had one and he would bite a chunk out of your hand if you wanted
I'm just
to.
scared. I'm just
It
scared
was
of
in that sort
birds.
of mood.
No,
I've
I'm
got one
scared
in
of
the
them.
house. Oh,
I
bless
am scared
you.
of them.
Yeah.
But where can they get my books? Either direct from me if they want to, just send me a message, email, haunted histories at virginmedia.com, or message me on Haunted Histories, the Facebook page, or go
Is
directly
it
on.
haunted histories? One word.
Yeah. So you've got the website hauntedhistories.co.uk, the email's on there if people want to contact me.
Dot.
You've got the
Dot. I've
Facebook
typed it there.
page, Haunted Histories. It's a group, not a page. The Facebook group, because I like the interaction.
Yeah.
Or you can order them direct from Amazon if you don't want to get one signed directly from me, and then come and meet me at one of the Paracons that I'm doing and produce it and
I've
say,
spelled that
please
right.
sign it. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, please sign my book if you want to. But yes, they're all available on Amazon or
Brilliant.
directly from me.
Oh wow, I've never known that. Yeah, awesome.
She does call him the toddler quite a lot in her videos. It's quite
Oh
funny.
wow. Yeah. I knew my mate since she got him and then he died. I was like, oh my
No.
god. She had him about 30 plus years. It's like, yeah, they are awesome. I've got Paranormal Playtime.
Have you?
Yeah, I
Ah,
got that at the Parameet.
did you? I can't remember. If
Oh,
it happened more than 2 days ago at the moment, I
well, I
struggle
don't
to
know.
remember.
I've got it. I don't know when. But yeah, I wanted the Bosworth one. I meant to get
Yeah.
that and I didn't get around to getting it. But
Well,
yeah.
that one sold out when I was at the Festival of the Unexplained.
Okay.
That sold out. I thought Epping Forest would because that was the new one, and I got quite low on that one as well. Hi, Wes.
Hey.
But poor sod, he's going to be with me and Rachel for our trip to the
Oh wow,
States.
awesome! Yeah, I meant to meet up with Wes in Edinburgh, but it's 2020, so we couldn't go for some reason. I wonder why. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, that was when I was
yeah.
originally supposed to go to Canada in May 2020, and obviously
Okay. Yeah.
it's taken me that long to sort of get my finances back up so I can go.
Oh, bless you.
But yeah, I thought Epping Forest would sell out. No, Bosworth sold out at
Yeah.
the Festival of the Unexplained. So
But then it was at Bosworth, wasn't it? So there you go.
Yeah.
That's why.
But a lot of people, because they'd come the year before, a lot of them got a free copy the year before.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't realise it would.
It's just new people. Yeah.
I don't know, Helena, if Wes is being dragged. He's offered to come with us, so I think he's actually quite looking forward to the fact we have met before, but he's also going to have the Yorkshire one with him. So yeah,
okay.
poor guy's going to go into therapy when we fly back.
Oh wow, bless you. Yeah, it'd be a good trip. Would love to meet Wes. I think we've nearly met up 3 times. One day we'll get there, you know. But,
I'm sure next time he comes over, we'll sort something out. I think I might have to be in charge of his meet and greets next time he comes to the UK. I don't think. I mean, I met him. Wes and I first met. We both did Bodmin Jail for Richard Estep, and Wes was staying in the same hotel as me, and so Richard had said, "Oh, would you mind giving him a lift up to the jail?" and we
Okay.
just sort of became firm friends
Yeah.
as a result of that. So
That's so cool.
that's what's so lovely about all of this. It's the people you
Isn't it
meet.
just?
Yeah.
Yeah. Really makes a difference.
I don't know if they feel the same way about me,
Ah,
but
don't tell stories. There you
don't worry. What happens at
go.
Bodmin stays at
Stays.
Bodmin.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
Only time you've ever heard me scream on an investigation was because of that man.
Oh wow.
Mm.
Share.
Well, so I'm there with Gaynor Clark, and we were in the area that was the original entrance, and you've got the toilet
Okay.
block.
Right.
And I don't get scared. People have
No,
tried. I don't get scared.
I don't get
I might
scared.
get unnerved, and my intuition might say get out now, but I don't.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
scream when things happen. Anyway, we're walking down this pitch black corridor, and suddenly we hear this very deep Canadian voice go, "Hello," and we're like, "What?" Because we couldn't see him, and we're looking around, going, "Where are you?" "I'm over here." Where? You were sat on a chair in a corner. We genuinely couldn't see him
Oh
until he
God,
turned his torch on.
no.
All we could do was hear this blooming disembodied Canadian voice, and it made us
Awesome.
jump. It made us jump. So he's quite
Oh,
proud of
bless
the
you.
fact he's the only person who's been able to make me jump on an investigation.
Oh, bless you. That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah. That's a true. It is a true story. Actually, it is
Oh,
a true
that's so
story.
cool. Yeah.
So no, he's looking after Rachel and I when we go across the pond in May. So really looking forward to spending time with my Canadian friend. And then we're going to Fort Mifflin as well, which for anyone who is a lover of history, go and check out Fort Mifflin's page, because they got really, really badly flooded and damaged recently, and they are actually trying to raise some funds to do some emergency restoration work. So if you are a lover of history and you can spare a few dollars, I'm sure they'd really, really appreciate it, because the damage was quite extensive, and they want to try and restore it a bit as much as possible.
Oh, bless you.
I didn't do the cottage with you, dude. If you're talking about the one you threw up in, I wasn't there, unfortunately. But no, Fort it's true. It was that bad. It made him physically sick. It was that bad. But no, Fort Mifflin.
Oh gosh.
I can't remember Wes would be able to tell the story. I wasn't there. I just remember him
might
telling
have
me
heard
it
it actually.
sick.
Yeah, I think Wes has told
But yeah,
me.
Mifflin got very badly damaged, and they're trying to do restoration work. So if anyone can spare a few quid to help out the fort that saved America, as it's called. I mean, it seems ironic that British people trying to help an American fort, but it's still quite important history.
Yeah,
it's still history.
Right.
So if anyone can spare a few quid, I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
Right, bless you. Right, okay, we've got to finish now, but thank you so much. Yeah, and you can get some sleep. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of, but I'm shocking with names because I was thinking about the one I've been to on Loch Ness. So I thought, I couldn't even remember what that was called. Bowskin House, yeah.
Yes,
Bowskin.
It was owned by Jimmy Page. It was owned by Jimmy Page at one point.
I went in September. I'm going to put some photos of it because I've got permission to show them. So I actually did a tour of the outside of the building. So
they're restoring it, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I went round it. Well, the outside. They've come on since then on what they've done, which is great. You know, a few months on, 5 months now on from there. But yeah, that's it. It was. But yeah, glad you enjoyed it. But take care, everyone.
Yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the laughs. And Penny will sort you out when she sees you. What can I say? Thanks a lot.